killed the bastard.
He's choking! Mrs. Doubtfire, help us! He's choking!
Help is on the way, dear!
Mrs. Doubtfire!
Help is on the way!
Back then, family movies did not need superheroes or talking animals. Just one dad, a disguise, and a whole lot of questionable choices made out of love, of course. In 1993, Robin Williams turned divorce and deception into box office gold with Mrs. Doubtfire, a heartfelt comedy that made millions laugh while quietly breaking their hearts. Williams starred as Daniel Hillard, a loving but impulsive dad who would do anything to stay close to his kids after a messy divorce from Miranda, played by Sally Field. When she started interviewing housekeepers, Daniel found a loophole, using his brother's movie makeup skills to turn himself into Euphigenia Doubtfire, a prim Scottish nanny with the voice of your favorite grandmother and the energy of a Saturday morning cartoon.
Ah! Look at this! My first day as a woman, I'm getting hot flashes.
The film also featured Pierce Brosnan as Miranda's new love interest and a young trio of future scene stealers, Lisa Jakub, Matthew Lawrence, and Mara Wilson. Mrs. Doubtfire became one of the most loved films of the 1990s, mixing Robin's quick, improvised comedy with real emotion about family, loss, and second chances. Today, we are counting down 15 weird and completely true facts about the nanny who proved you cannot keep a good parent or a great wig down. Now, before we get started, hit like and subscribe. It helps YouTube show this to more nostalgic movie fans just like you. Now let's get into the countdown with number 1. 2 million feet of film and one man's comedy explosion. Robin Williams did not just improvise during Mrs. Doubtfire. He turned the entire production into a 2 million foot comedy explosion that had the crew shooting more film than most directors use in 5 movies. 2 million feet of film in the 1990s, when film actually cost money and could not just be deleted like a bad iPhone video. Here is how it worked. Williams would nail 3 or 4 takes exactly as scripted, professional, on point, and exactly what you would expect.
Prepare yourself for the wild kingdom.
Then Columbus would let him play, giving him free control to improvise whatever came into his mind. To capture all of it, Columbus used 4 cameras at the same time, filming Williams and everyone else's reactions before they broke character. Some scenes went through 15 to 22 takes, not because anyone made mistakes, but because Robin refused to stop until he got it all out of his system. The man was basically filming his own HBO comedy special in the middle of a PG-rated family movie. The script supervisor, and bless their heart, had to handwrite every single improvised line. No laptops, no shortcuts, just desperate pencil scribbling, while Williams treated the script like a starting point.
Oh, what a foul way for a bird to die! I don't want to get big cancer! No! My lungs are blackened!
Go again. Cut. Roll it back.
Columbus ended up with enough footage to cut 3 different versions, a PG, PG-13, and R-rated version. The PG-13 version is what you saw in theaters, the heartwarming family comedy with just enough edge. But somewhere in the vault, there is enough R-rated material to match his wildest stand-up shows. All of that footage, every take, outtake, and moment of genius that didn't make the cut, is stored in 972 boxes of film reels in climate-controlled storage. Columbus has talked about wanting to make a documentary showing Williams' improvisational brilliance, but for now, those boxes sit untouched. Number 2, the melting mask that became comedy gold. That unforgettable moment when Mrs. Doubtfire's frosting mask slid off her face was a complete accident. Nobody planned for gravity and studio lights to work against Robin Williams in the middle of a scene. The script called for Daniel to shove his head into a cake to hide being caught without his prosthetic mask by Mrs. Sellner, the social worker, played by Anne Haney. All in all, it seemed simple enough, except nothing involving Robin Williams was ever simple.
Miss Hillard? The water's boiling.
Hello! Ah! Oh, I'm sorry to frighten you, dear. I must look like a yeti in this get-up. This is my nightly meringue mask.
Under the studio lights, the frosting started melting faster than a Slurpee in a Phoenix parking lot, dripping down Williams's face in what can only be called a sugary disaster. When a blob of icing landed right in Mrs. Sellner's tea, Williams, because of course he did, immediately ad-libbed.
There you go, dear. Oh, there you go. You've got your cream and your sugar now. It's a little cappuccino. One drop hot.
The crew nearly lost it. Columbus wisely kept the cameras rolling instead of stopping to clean up the mess, which would have been the responsible choice, but also the boring one. That line wasn't in the script. Robin just turned a makeup department disaster into one of the movie's most memorable moments, like some kind of improv wizard with frosting superpowers. It was also a continuity supervisor's nightmare. Good luck matching melting frosting across multiple takes, but who cares when the result is that good? Sometimes the best movie magic happens when everything is literally falling apart.
Number 3. Mrs. Doubtfire's R-rated shopping trip. Robin Williams tested Mrs. Doubtfire on the streets of San Francisco. Between filming days, he would walk around the city in full costume just to see if anyone would recognize him as the Scottish nanny from the movie. Spoiler alert, no one did.
Oh, my lady, it's a pleasure to see you again.
A joy, as always.
The makeup was so convincing that even his own son, Zach, didn't recognize him on set until he heard that unmistakable voice come through the prosthetics. And in the most delightfully wild test of realism, Williams once walked into an adult store in full Doubtfire drag. While staying in character, he tried to buy what he later called a double-headed pleasure toy. Yes, while dressed as a kindly British grandmother. The poor clerk, completely unaware he was talking to Robin Williams, seriously tried to help. It wasn't until Williams dropped the accent and revealed who he was that the clerk burst out laughing. For Williams, even a latex mask was a chance to connect, surprise, and get one more laugh, no matter where he was. Number 4. Expelled from Mrs. Doubtfire. Playing Lydia Hillard, the oldest daughter, cost Lisa Jakub more than just sleep. It cost her high school education. Jakub was a 9th grader in Toronto when she got the role and was determined to keep up with her classes while filming in California. She had a tutor on set and mailed assignments back and forth to her school for months, doing everything by the book and trying to keep some kind of normal teenage life.
Party?
Yes!
No.
Yes!
No parties. Mom said you couldn't have one because of your report card.
Mom's not gonna be home for another 4 hours, is she?
Then one day, the school sent her a letter. It wasn't working out, and she shouldn't come back. The reason was too many absences. Never mind that those absences were for a major Hollywood film. Rules are rules. Jakub was devastated. When Robin Williams found out, he wrote a heartfelt letter to the principal, asking the school to reconsider and support her education instead of punishing her for achieving something most people only dream about. The principal didn't change his mind, but he did frame the letter and hang it in his office like a trophy. Jakub never returned to that school, and years later she shared how heartbreaking it was to lose that connection to normal teenage life. But hey, at least the principal got a cool letter to hang in his office. Number 5. A Looney Tunes legend directed the opening scene. Mrs. Doubtfire opens with a fully animated cartoon featuring Pudgy the parakeet and Grunge the cat, supervised by Chuck Jones. Yes, the legendary animator behind Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and the Roadrunner.
A new bird and a new cat. I don't know, wait a minute, you know. It's like asking to come up with a new mouse.
Director Chris Columbus wanted the film to start with classic Saturday morning animation instead of boring exposition, so he brought in Jones to create a golden-era cartoon with that classic Looney Tunes energy. Jones put together a dream team, veteran animators Bill Littlejohn and Tom Ray, plus up-and-comer Eric Goldberg, who was also animating the genie in Aladdin, also voiced by Robin Williams, because Williams was contractually required to be in every big 1990s project, or at least it felt that way. The cartoon was a nostalgia trip and set up the whole plot. Daniel Hillard was voicing lines for the already finished animation and refused to record dialogue where Pudgy smoked a cigarette in a kid's cartoon.
Daniel, that line is not in the script. Why did you add it?
Well, I thought I should comment on the situation.
What situation?
The fact that Pudgy the parrot has a cigarette shoved into his mouth is morally irresponsible.
He walked off the job in protest, and that decision set the stage for the whole movie. Now, here's the kicker. Jones and his team didn't animate just the 1 minute you see on screen. They created nearly 5 full minutes of cartoon chaos. Most of it got cut, though some versions included as a DVD bonus feature for anyone who wants the extended Pudgy experience.
How about a nice, soothing cigarette?
Oh, I will not do this.
The entire opening cartoon exists to show one thing. Daniel Hilliard had great principles, but terrible judgment. He would risk his own life just to save a fictional parakeet from lung cancer. Buckle up. Number 6. 4 hours in the world's largest condom. Turning Robin Williams into everyone's favorite Scottish nanny took 4 to 4.5 hours of makeup torture every single day. The process used 8 overlapping foam latex prosthetic pieces layered on Williams' face like the sweatiest jigsaw puzzle ever made.
And that is also done in several layers. I'll do a flesh tone, then I'll go in with a pink tone and then stipple a flesh tone back on top of it. Now Yolanda is placing the wig on, and there he is.
Then came the full bodysuit and padding to make a convincing older, heavier woman. Then the wig. Then layers of stippled paint to give realistic skin texture and blotchiness. For most of those 4+ hours, Williams had to keep his head tilted back so the makeup artist could work. To keep him from going crazy, the crew put a television on the ceiling above his chair so he could watch movies while they glued foam to his face.
She would put a TV up here with a videotape player so you could see it in the mirror. Bad for subtitle movies. But great to watch films while you're in makeup.
The team behind it, Greg Canham, V. Neal, and Yolanda Tusiang, won the 1994 Academy Award for Best Makeup, and they earned every bit of it. V. Neal had already worked on Edward Scissorhands and Beetlejuice, but she later said Mrs. Doubtfire was the hardest job of her career. The reason? Robin Williams was a heavy sweater. Every seam had to be sealed perfectly or the whole look would fall apart. Williams joked to V. Neal that wearing the costume felt like being in the world's largest condom. When it got really hot, the makeup would fail, turning Mrs. Doubtfire into a literal House of Wax scenario. Number 7. The ending Hollywood didn't want. Screenwriter Randy Mayhem Singer wrote Mrs. Doubtfire with a realistic ending. Daniel and Miranda stay divorced but figure out how to co-parent like real adults. 20th Century Fox saw that and said, absolutely not. They wanted the full Hollywood treatment. Everyone hugs, the marriage magically fixes itself, and divorced parents everywhere learn that all you really need is a good disguise and some determination instead of compromise. Fox brought in screenwriter Leslie Dixon to create the fairy tale ending they wanted.
Would you like to come in?
I'll wait outside.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now here's where it gets really good. Robin Williams, Sally Field, and director Chris Columbus were all divorced, and none of them were going to approve a movie that told kids their parents might get back together if they just wished hard enough. Williams especially wasn't having it, so the three of them stood firm, said no to the reunion ending, and Fox blinked first. In 1992, they changed their minds, brought Singer back, and let her restore the original ending. Daniel and Miranda stayed divorced, co-parent successfully, and Daniel gets his own TV show. Life goes on. That final scene with Mrs. Doubtfire talking directly to kids about divorce only exists because 3 people who had actually lived through it refused to let a studio sell fantasy as fact.
But if there's love, dear, those are the ties that bind.
Both Singer and Dixon got screenwriting credit, but the ending that made it to theaters was Singer's from the very beginning.
Number 8. Pierce Brosnan was almost a cartoon villain. In the original script for Mrs. Doubtfire, Pierce Brosnan's character, Stuart Dunmire, was supposed to be the villain, not just the romantic rival, but the actual bad guy. The early version had him plotting to send Daniel's kids to boarding school so he could have Miranda all to himself. Think soap opera level manipulative, textbook evil stepdad setup. Director Chris Columbus put the brakes on. Making Stu a one-dimensional bad guy felt lazy and completely missed the point.
And for me, it was just a question of really keeping it simple. Just doing the scene, doing what's on the paper.
Mrs. Doubtfire wasn't about defeating some cartoon villain. It was about a grown man learning that dressing up as a nanny doesn't fix the reasons his marriage fell apart. So Stu got a complete rewrite. Instead of a sneering antagonist, he became a decent, kind, and emotionally stable adult. Basically everything Daniel wasn't. He was the kind of guy you would actually want around your kids, which made Daniel's jealousy much more complicated and interesting.
Is everything all right, ma'am?
Fan-bloody-tastic. Can I have another?
Sure.
Only one line from the original villain script survived. That poolside moment where Stu calls Daniel a loser. One insult preserved for posterity. The change turned the movie from a simple good versus evil comedy into something messier and much more honest. Daniel's real problem wasn't Stu, it was Daniel. There was even a deleted scene where Daniel apologizes to Stu for all the jealousy and sabotage. Hard to stay mad at a guy whose only crime is being a functional adult. All right, now before we dive into more face-melting mishaps and heartfelt chaos, hit that like button because it's easier than gluing on 13 pieces of latex before breakfast. Now, let's get back to the countdown with number 9, When Life and Art Collided for Sally Field. Sally Field was in the middle of filming one of Mrs. Doubtfire's most emotional scenes, the courtroom custody battle, when she got a phone call in her trailer. Her father had just died from a massive stroke. Most actors would have tried to push through, finish the day, and not disrupt the production schedule. Field tried to do exactly that, stepping back on set even though she was completely devastated. Robin Williams immediately knew something was wrong. He pulled her aside, she told him what happened, and without a second thought, he went straight to director Chris Columbus and shut it down. Filming stopped, and Field was allowed to leave.
He was hit by a Guinness truck. So it was quite literally the drink that killed him.
Oh, how tragic.
Williams wasn't just the star, he was also a producer on the film, which meant he actually had the power to change the shooting schedule. And that's exactly what he did. No debate, no, we'll work around it, no, can we get one more take? Just immediate action to make sure Field could be with her family. Field later described Williams as very sensitive and intuitive, the kind of person who noticed things others missed and actually did something about it. It's a side of him audiences rarely saw, but his co-stars never forgot. Sometimes the most important thing that happens on a movie set has nothing to do with the movie. Number 10. The real Mrs. Doubtfire, who never knew she'd become famous. Here's something you might not know. Mrs. Doubtfire wasn't just a Robin Williams invention. There really was a Madame Doubtfire, and her eccentric little world helped shape both the book and the movie. Robin drew from several inspirations. He borrowed the Scottish accent from director Bill Forsyth, and the warmth of the character came partly from his beloved childhood nanny, Loie. But the name and much of the vibe came from a real Edinburgh shopkeeper who locals still talk about today. Her name was Annabella Coutts, but everyone called her Madame Doubtfire. She ran a famously chaotic basement secondhand shop in Edinburgh, the kind of place where the dust was older than the merchandise and the cats seemed to outnumber the customers. Her sign read, Madame Doubtfire, cast-off clothing of all description, invites inspection. Kids loved it. Adults weren't entirely sure she wasn't part of the display. Photographer Douglas Correns captured her in the late 70s and described her trading jokes with neighborhood cops she'd known since they were young, while politely refusing to tidy up the avalanche of clutter around her door. She wore a rakish hat, kept a dozen cats at her feet, and had a fixed expression that made her look like she'd survived several world wars and many more batches of customers. Here's where fiction and reality collide. Anne Fine, who lived nearby, walked past that shop constantly. She said Madame Doubtfire got lodged in her brain. The eccentricity, the mystery, the cats, the sign, the whole unforgettable vibe. Eventually, she built a novel around that idea, which became the blueprint for Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, no, please, I'm fine. I'm quite capable of doing... Oh, all right, dear. But where are you? There you go. All right.
Yes. Oh, and your bag too, ma'am.
Drop it.
Annabella passed away in 1979. Never knowing her name would one day be shouted by Robin Williams in latex and a wig. But her spirit, quirky, unmistakable, and utterly iconic, is baked right into the character. Even the gallery that now stands on her old corner still carries the Doubtfire name. Like the city itself, it refuses to let her fade away. Number 11. Designing the perfect grandmother. When it came time to create Mrs. Doubtfire's look, director Chris Columbus had a problem. Most drag comedy back then relied on the joke that you could obviously tell it was a man in a dress, and that wasn't going to work here. Columbus needed the kids and the audience to actually believe this was someone's grandmother. Not a punchline in a wig, but a person you'd trust with your children and maybe ask for cookie recipes. So the design team did what any responsible person would do. They started flipping through hundreds of vintage photographs looking for the perfect grandmotherly face. Eventually, they found her.
So you have to promise me. It's just us, all right? You promise?
A 1940s portrait of an older English woman with a sweet, prim expression became the inspiration. Columbus described it as incredibly warm, very proper, and extremely lovable. That photo became the blueprint. Every detail of Mrs. Doubtfire's face, the nose, the cheeks, the soft perm, was carefully recreated from that one image. We've already covered how painstaking that transformation was, but it worked. The disguise was so convincing that audiences truly believed Mrs. Doubtfire was a real person, not a man in drag doing a bit, but an actual grandmother played by Robin Williams under several pounds of foam.
After this picture of this woman that we had, Robin's makeup is comprised of 8 overlapping foam latex appliances.
So the next time you watch Mrs. Doubtfire, remember that iconic look came from a random 1940s photo of an English woman who had no idea she would one day inspire Robin Williams to spend 4 hours a day getting foam glued to his face. Number 12. The casting that almost was. Mrs. Doubtfire could have been a very different movie, and honestly, probably a worse one if casting had gone another way. Author Anne Fine wanted Warren Beatty as Daniel Hillard. Warren Beatty, the romantic lead from Bonnie and Clyde, playing a desperate dad in a latex mask, sounds like the setup for a much more serious drama where nobody laughs and everyone kind of cries. The studio had their own ideas.
And if they don't blame yourself. Just because they don't love each other anymore doesn't mean that they don't love you.
Their first choice was Tim Allen, riding high on Home Improvement at the time. That version would have been fine, a solid family comedy that did decent box office and then faded from cultural memory. Other names that came up included Mel Gibson, Tom Hanks, Bill Murray, and even Chevy Chase. Mel Gibson as Mrs. Doubtfire is especially wild to imagine. Less wholesome nanny, more unhinged house invader. Robin Williams ultimately got the part and turned it into something nobody else could have done.
Well, you can sense it, dear, the way she talks about her father.
Really?
I don't think he's in the Navy, really, the way she's saying she misses him. You know, it's like she wants him here, like he's nearby.
Yes.
Oh, it's so sad.
Would you care to have a cup of tea?
I'd love that.
Meanwhile, director Chris Columbus wanted Catherine O'Hara for Miranda. They had worked together on Home Alone and had great chemistry, but O'Hara was busy filming The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Goodbye, Jack. My dearest Jack. Oh, how I hope my premonition is wrong.
Kirstie Alley was offered the role next, but she was busy with Look Who's Talking Now. Sally Field wasn't the first, second, or even third choice, but she brought exactly what the movie needed. Someone who could stand opposite Williams' chaos without getting steamrolled, grounding the comedy with real emotion. The final piece of alternate timeline trivia, 5-year-old Blake Lively auditioned for the youngest daughter, Natalie. Her mom tried to keep her from getting starstruck by claiming Robin Williams was actually his twin brother. When Lively met the real Williams, the ruse failed instantly. She froze up, and Mara Wilson got the part instead.
She's not as good. She always gets parts, and she never does the voices. She smells funny, too.
The cast we got wasn't Plan A, but it was better than any other plan they had. Number 13. Why Mrs. Doubtfire 2 never happened. For over a decade, Hollywood tried to make Mrs. Doubtfire 2 happen and failed every single time. The first attempt came in 2001 when actress and writer Bonnie Hunt was hired to write a sequel script, but by 2006, the project was dead. Robin Williams openly admitted the script didn't work, and neither he nor Chris Columbus wanted to force a sequel that lacked the original's heart. Williams pointed out the obvious problem. Mrs. Doubtfire's identity was already revealed at the end of the first film, so what would be the point?
Mrs. Doubtfire?
Lydia, dear, get back inside right now before you freeze.
Look, I just want to apologize for being such a pain today.
Oh, dear, it's...
The project then sat in development hell until 2014, when writer David Berenbaum, the guy who wrote Elf, delivered a script that actually got Williams and Columbus excited. Finally, a story worth telling. Williams had one request. "Boss, do I have to be in the suit as much this time?" The man was older, the makeup process was brutal, and he'd already spent enough hours with prosthetics glued to his face, so it was a smart question. But tragedy struck before cameras could roll. Williams passed away in August 2014, and the sequel died with him. Columbus confirmed it's permanently shelved. Disney technically owns the rights and could theoretically make a sequel, but if they asked Columbus to help, his answer would be no.
Number 14. The custody battle that made Mrs. Doubtfire hit different. No, divorced dads didn't start impersonating nannies after the movie came out. As it turns out, deceiving your ex-wife, lying to a court-appointed social worker, and committing identity fraud aren't great strategies for family court. But the film did become a surprisingly common reference point in conversations about custody battles and fathers' rights.
Proceedings have always tended to favor the mother. We also realize, perhaps now more than ever, that it is not in a child's best interest to deprive him or her of an obviously loving father.
Legal experts and family law attorneys still use Mrs. Doubtfire as a teaching tool, specifically as an example of what not to do during a custody dispute. But here's what made the movie stick. It captured real frustrations that fathers in custody battles were experiencing.
I mean, every Saturday, that's 1 day a week. That's not enough. I have to be with my children. It's not a question, really. I mean, I have to be with them, sir, please.
Frustrations that resonated in 1993 and haven't exactly gone away since. Daniel Hillard is a loving, devoted dad who gets sidelined in custody hearings because he's unemployed and living in a subpar apartment. The judge in the film even points it out directly. Custody proceedings have always tended to favor the mother.
Proceedings have always tended to favor the mother.
That line hit hard for many men who felt the system was stacked against them from the start, no matter how much they loved their kids or how involved they had been. Advocates for fathers' rights have pointed to the film as a reflection of the problems dads face in divorce proceedings, not because Daniel's plan was smart, but because his desperation felt real. He wasn't the villain. He was a flawed guy trying to stay in his kids' lives when the system made it harder than it should have been. The movie became part of a larger cultural conversation about custody and shared parenting that was already happening in the 90s. Mrs. Doubtfire didn't change family law, but it gave that conversation a surprisingly emotional Hollywood spotlight, complete with Scottish accents and foam prosthetics. Number 15. The $441 Million Nanny. Mrs. Doubtfire cost $25 million to make and earned $441.3 million worldwide, a 17 times return on investment. In Hollywood math, that means a few executives at 20th Century Fox probably bought some very nice cars. It finished as the second highest grossing film of 1993, beaten only by Jurassic Park. You know, the one with groundbreaking CGI dinosaurs that completely changed special effects. Mrs. Doubtfire came in right behind it, armed with nothing but foam latex and Robin Williams doing accents.
Isn't that the pretty picture? Oh,
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Miranda, what a pleasant surprise to see you home so early, dear. And who is your gentleman caller?
The film pulled in over $222 million internationally, making it Fox's biggest overseas hit at the time. Turns out, divorce comedy travels surprisingly well when you wrap it in a Scottish accent and a fat suit. What made it work was the tonal tightrope, slapstick food fights for the kids, emotional realism for the parents who knew exactly what joint custody felt like.
I was angry.
Oh.
Look, you hurt me.
Oh, you ripped my heart out. Will you come back to do it again?
I lied. You know what?
What?
I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do anymore who did what to whom.
Somehow, a movie about elaborate family deception became must-watch for actual families. Williams took home the Golden Globe for Best Actor. The movie won Best Picture in the musical or comedy category, and the makeup team snagged the Oscar. Everyone got a trophy, except the poor person who had to glue 8 pieces of foam to Robin's face every morning. Mrs. Doubtfire hit the rare sweet spot. It was funny enough for kids, real enough for divorced parents, and profitable enough to make studio executives very, very happy. $441 million worth of happy. And there you have it, 15 weird and wonderful facts about Mrs. Doubtfire. Which facts surprised you the most? Which ones did we miss? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next trip down memory lane.